Dan, I got a serious question for you. All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is serious. I'm not like playing games here.
All
This is a
right.
serious question. Do you know how to balance a checkbook?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
I
I
haven't done
think
it for many years.
yeah, checkbooks are just so 20th century, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, I
Hmm.
don't even know the last time I wrote out a check.
Yeah, that's interesting because I never. Now that I have a business, I just think it's still funny saying that because I just can't believe all this has happened to me. But now that I have a business, I actually write checks a lot. I write them all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
Well, you got to pay rent. You got to, when I pay like I put a little ad in my local newspaper, I got to pay them once a month, that kind of stuff. So I just use checks instead of credit
Ah,
cards. But, credit's the way to go, I think.
yeah. So when is the
Yeah.
last time you balanced your checkbook?
Well, I don't. I find this difficult to articulate, but I am 100% true. I just know my my ins and outs, my credits and debits. I just know them. And I do review my credit card statements. They're online, and I know every darn charge that's on there, and I would know in 2 seconds if one of those were a fraudulent charge.
Yeah.
And I just work off of a cushion in my bank account, and I just go with it. I think back to when I was a child. My mom, had the checkbook, and hers was just meticulous. It was just every single line, every check and the
Oh,
running
yeah.
total and the pluses and the minuses and all. And I don't do it.
Yeah, I,
I,
I probably wouldn't either if I did use a checkbook.
yeah, I don't do it at all. I don't know. It's just hard to articulate. And that's what I'm saying with my business. Uh, I don't even do it with it. I just know. I guess because I'm a sole proprietor, I'm the one in charge of all this stuff. And I think, when you talk to an accountant, they want to be able to calculate all of your expenses in different areas, what you're spending on gas, on supplies, on wood, on vehicle maintenance, so that when you understand all your expenses, you know what you can do a better job at controlling. But I don't know. I just don't think I can. There's not much. There's not much else I'm going to be able to do other than what I'm already doing, and I'm good with it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get all these different data sets and analyze where your money's going, but at the end of the day, like every month it's the same pretty much. I think anyway. Like there's no real places to cut. It's not like you go to buy gas for your saws. It's you
Yeah,
gotta have it. You go to
you got to
buy,
have it.
everything you buy you gotta have. So it's not
Yeah,
like you can really eliminate too much.
I had maintenance warranty work done on my tractor, and I felt like since they had it, I just went ahead and paid them to the scheduled service on it,
Yeah.
knowing that I could have done it cheaper myself, but it just was there. It was convenient, and I'd say let's just get it done. And that's just something I can cross off my list now for another, I don't know, 100 hours or whatever. But
I would have
those are
done the same thing.
expenses. I know what they are, and I know that I could, or if I could not afford them, and I just do it. I think I do my accounting based upon my balance, which probably annoys a lot of people. But that's just how I live. And I think living with a cushion helps because then you don't have to like start splitting hairs when your account's like super duper low.
Yes. Yep.
Um, like in Ohio, we have to charge sales tax for firewood sales. And so all my sales tax that I've charged people, it just sits in my account, in my bank account. And then twice a year, I have to pay it back to Ohio. And, that happened this month and that hurt. But I was also thinking, well, it's not my money to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, people paid their tax with a purchase, so that's not even my money, and I just pay it and I just move on.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. I use like I just use like debit or credit cards that then I just pay, at the end of the month. And the nice thing about that is like there's well mine anyway, it will break down my what I spent money on, like gas, groceries, miscellaneous. So like I get a little statement. It's kind of crazy how like the technology is there where they know when you're
yeah,
buying gas, they know when you're buying groceries.
right.
Yeah, my main thing is with the checking account is more money going in than going out. That's all I worry about.
Yeah, that's nice when that's the case, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's nice. So here's a second question for you, Dan. Do you know the difference? I mean, we're talking about accounting here, or balancing your checkbook. Do you know the difference between gross and net?
I think so. I think the gross is like total everything, and then
Yeah,
the net is like what you would make after your expenses. So
excellent.
gross
Yes.
would be all the money you take in a month, and then the net would be all that money minus all your expenses.
Yeah. So I had done a video recently on YouTube about firewood bundles. I was wrapping sticks of firewood with plastic and I'd put my label on it.
Yep.
And I did a video. It was start to finish, no editing. And I showed that I made 20 bundles in under 20 minutes. And I'm saying if I sold these bundles for $5 each, that I just made 5 times 20 is 100. I just made $100 in under 20 minutes.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the title of my video. And I was hammered by a few about, you're not counting this is a misleading video. You're not counting the wood, the wrapping, the electricity, the mileage and the driving and the this and the that. And my reply would be to anyone that says that, and if you've been following my channel long enough, you know how I operate. My reply is, do you understand the difference between gross and net?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So it is that simple. So when I am making a statement like that, I don't see what the big deal is. I'm talking gross. So the net is obviously, well, and that's where people were saying, well, what about all the time it took for you to make the logs and the this and the that? And my point was, all of that was calculated into when the firewood was made and stacked, because everything goes in the bulk. When I'm making bundles, that's just wrapping plastic around logs that I've already made.
Right.
So my expense would be, the at
Plastic.
cost, the at cost amount of the sticks of firewood, the plastic, which I had a long time ago, and I don't even know if this is accurate, but I just go with it, is 17 cents of plastic on each roll and 15 cents per label. And then whatever it cost me to drive it to the grocery store, like, I don't know, 75 cents in gasoline. Okay. So if I am selling them for $5 each, I'm making $4.75 a bundle.
Yeah.
Not bad. Not bad.
No.
Yeah.
But that's just
But
all too complicated.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Can I think of a other video that I can do to put people to sleep? Maybe I'll show me digging a hole with a shovel. This is a firewood channel, and I just keep it at gross. If you want to
That's
see net, then you need to go dial into an accounting channel and tell me when it's over with.
yeah. Yeah, it's those things are, I don't know. It's because everyone's circumstance would be different as well. So you can't, somebody might, I don't know, maybe somebody got a roll of wrap for free, or there's all these different variables that
Yeah,
come into play, and a lot of times I don't think people really realize, if you really wanted to start nitpicking it down, there's way more things that you would have to like start considering in it. Is it really worth it?
I know. And I had having flashbacks to where I used to work. This one guy I worked with, we would get into these nitpicky kind of conversations, and he was the one that always, when the conversation would start dying down, he was always the one that would say, "And what about the taxes?" He would say. Like, gosh, okay. I was thinking, well, okay, you guys go on ahead and split your hairs and polish your pennies. I will go over here and create value, and I will make sales. Have at it,
Yes.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you look at Ohio Woodburner, when you look at my videos, you are looking at an operator, a person who gets stuff done.
There you go.
And yeah, if one thing I've come out of my 22 plus year corporate career, it is I am a paperwork rebel. I understand accounting. I will
Yep.
impress you with my knowledge. I will. I'll give you calculations on cost of goods delivered. But after you wake up, we'll think, gee, look at all this time we wasted when we could have been creating value.
There you go.
There you
Yeah.
go.
And a lot of times people who do that, they don't then also calculate the other way. Like they'll say a gallon of milk is $3.50. Well, no, you had to drive to the store. You know,
Oh gosh.
you had to
Yeah.
spend time walking around. You had to do, you know, you spent an hour at the grocery store. So like, do you add that to the cost of your milk? Like,
Yeah.
you know, at what point do you just, yeah,
Oh yeah. I had experienced that. One of my big videos. It's still one of my best performing videos. It's 2 years old now. It was about my outdoor wood furnace. And my
oh,
video was, this is how I heat my house for free.
free heat.
And yeah, free heat. Okay. So the first 30 seconds of that video, I define what free heat is. It's my definition. Okay. And my definition is I don't write a check to the gas company every month. Okay.
Exactly.
To me, that's free heat.
That's
Oh
free.
my gosh. There are literally 3,000 comments on this video because it's just gotten that much
Oh
visibility.
yeah.
And these guys are like, I mean, do they really think that they're this, that this is something that no one else has ever thought of before? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like, that's not free. What about the wood? What about your
Right.
time? What about the saw? What about sharpening your chains? What about the gas? What about the electricity? What about the taxes? You know? And I was thinking, wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah. The the list
Gee,
goes
and the
on and
whole
on.
time I thought I was heating my house for free.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Shucks. Foiled again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that free word is a big
yeah.
trigger
Oh
word.
gosh. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too that people forget to calculate is their loss. In business, it's known as shrink, unaccounted loss of merchandise or money, I guess, assets.
Yep.
And the things that you have to calculate loss, like if you buy logs and you pay, I'm just going to use easy math here before I bore myself.
That's
You
good.
buy a load of logs for $500. You get 6 cords out of it. You can sell for $500 a cord. So that's $3,000. Okay. But what about all of the logs that were filled with ants that you just burnt,
Yep.
or that turned into waste because your splitter just chewed them all into waste and you just threw them into a pile, or you have it for sale out at your roadside stand, and someone accidentally, of course, forgot to pay for it.
Forgets to pay.
Forgets to pay for it.
Yeah.
So then that was like you had done a video recently on cameras,
Yeah.
and yeah, if I'm being a YouTube accountant, I'm going to hammer you, Dan, because you're not calculating the cost of those cameras, your subscription to your cellular service, and the time it takes for you away from working to log into your phone to watch your video.
Yeah. And the
That
power,
means,
yeah, the power for the router to run the Wi-Fi to hook up to the camera, and yeah, it's
and what about the taxes?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and that's the reason those cameras, which by the way are very nice, but my main thing with the cameras is just to be aware of when people are at my stand. I
Yeah.
know a lot of people try to I think people sometimes think having cameras will like help them, if they do get taken and somebody doesn't pay it to like track those people down. But are you really going to
Yeah.
track people down? I don't think so.
Yeah. Unless they were driving, like a 1974 lifted four-wheel drive Ford truck that's pink, with a big
Yes.
painting of the Road Runner on the hood of it. That might help you out with your investigation.
But even then, if okay, if your time is a factor of value, like how much time do you want to spend chasing someone down for a $5 bundle?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, so that gets into like professional risk management. How much money do you want to spend to protect your stuff? Because your stuff has value, but what is your stuff worth? And sometimes the prescription to protect your stuff costs more. I'm just talking raw dollars and cents
Yeah.
here. It would
Yep.
cost more than someone stealing it.
Exactly.
But you're not dealing with the emotion of that moment too. And then like the other thing that you learn too in retail, which is my old career, was security, loss prevention, risk management in a retail setting in these stores. If you allow someone to shoplift and you don't have a response, it gets worse. And then it gets looted, and then you get robbed. You
Yeah.
have to defend yourself. I compare it to getting bullied in high school. Like, Dan, when that kid in band, the clarinet kid, would come and knock the books out of your hand and you wouldn't like do anything about it. You know what I'm talking about. You remember those days, don't you?
Not really.
Yeah. You remember those days. If you don't do anything about it, it gets worse.
It happens again.
Yeah, it happens again. So I think putting cameras up, if you're going to spend money on that, I think it makes sense. But if you're one of these YouTube accountants, I think that's where you got to start looking at it logically and more. Well, you've also said too that you recognize a value of these cameras other than just protecting your stuff.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
just like to be able to see it, because then you can run your stand better. You can see you're empty.
Yes. And I know to go take the money out of the pay box, because that's the thing I find where people, if they leave money build up in their pay boxes, that's usually what gets robbed.
Yeah.
And so if I'm back in the wood yard, I get an alert on my phone, someone's at the stand, I can bring up the camera, I can watch when they leave, I go down, I take the money, and so that's my biggest thing, is just being aware of when people are at the stand, so then I can go and collect the funds when they leave.
I can see you like when your alarm goes off that someone's down there, you put on your camouflage and you get your paint gun and you hide in the weeds and you're waiting for them to not put money in the box.
Yeah. I've only had, I get asked all the time, about theft, and I've only had a few times where people have not paid full price. So I've never been like completely stiffed, or like somebody took a
Uh-huh.
stack of wood and didn't pay anything. But I've had like people take 4 bundles and pay for 2, or take 2 and pay for 1. And
Yeah.
I mean, if
Have you ever been vandalized? Have you ever like anyone drive through your stand with a truck or smash your box or anything like that?
nope, none of that. None of that.
All right.
And well, my brother, he runs like a kind of like a mobile farmers market, like vegetable stand. And he one time just, I don't know, he went out on how many weeks, and he ended up losing like $600 because he just had that much in that pay box. And
Uh-huh.
that's why I'm like, well, how do you let that build up?
Yeah.
Like you're just asking for trouble.
It is interesting though. And I know I don't have a roadside stand, but I know how it would go with me. When you have something like that and you've had it for long enough, it is like you're being asked to go climb Mount Everest in bare feet, to have to go walk down to the end of your driveway to check the cash box. Just sometimes it isn't going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your mileage may vary, but I know how I would be. So in that case, like a camera would help, because then I could just dial in and look from the comfort of my couch.
Yeah, and these cameras nowadays, like I have one that I can right from my phone control like panning and zooming in.
Yeah.
So it's pretty the technology is there to like again, for me it's just being aware of when
Yeah.
people visit the stand. Um
And you're cash only?
yes,
You don't have like Venmo or a QR code down there?
I do not. I
Yeah.
do offer that if they ask me like in advance. So like I'll
Uh-huh.
sometimes get messages cuz I have a sign that says, you know, you can text me with questions. So very few though. I haven't gotten
Yeah.
into the electronic payment yet. I plan to though.
So, believe it or not, in my previous life, I was very heavily involved in camera systems, setting them up, new store setups, trying to get the best angles. And you learn from experience, where you put a camera here and it doesn't work, or you
Yep.
put a camera in this great location and then the store later hangs a banner from the rafters. It's like right in front of the camera, then you can't use it anymore. So I've just learned from trial and error. But what I've also learned is, and let me ask you this, Dan, if someone were to come and smash your box open and take the cash and leave, would you be able to get the license plate or a good description of the person with your camera system?
Yes, as
Really?
long as they park their
They're,
vehicle
yeah,
facing the camera.
yeah, yeah. They got to park their car at the right angle
If
just so that you can see it.
yeah, and if they just stopped alongside the road, then maybe not, but or if they just like rode up on a bike or something, there's all these
Yeah.
scenarios, but yeah, for the most part, yes.
Okay.
I have it zoomed in and I can get on that.
It is just from my experience, and this is years with camera work. You never get the money shot. You When you need that camera shot of the license plate or a good facial picture, or the act of reaching in and taking the money,
Yeah.
it just seems like you never get it. That's one of the big things about cameras. So I love cameras. They serve a huge purpose, but I also have, from my experiences, because I had to go to court and stuff, based on video evidence. We're involved, with terminating employees with video evidence.
Oh,
And don't ever, if you're on the wrong end of something like this, I'm saying, don't ever think that the person has the goods on you, because chances are they don't, especially if it gets into court and you have a good attorney. They can pick apart video evidence.
really?
And that's why, yeah, I would caution you, if you think you got it on someone, i would be I would hold yourself to the highest possible standard you possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, and like
I
I
could
said,
have.
that's not really my main concern is like actually eventually ever taking someone like court or something.
Well, you would probably go hunt them down, I would think, though.
Well, I don't know. It's like so like here's an example of someone that I've talked to with a firewood stand and they told me that they got somebody came and took some bundles and didn't pay for them and they were just, livid about it. They were just mad. And then like 10 minutes later in the conversation, talking about firewood and sales and whatever, they told me how they just donated like a face cord to someone and gave it to them. And I'm like, well, if you're willing to just give a whole bunch of wood away, why are you so worried about someone then taking a couple bundles? Like, just consider that you gave it to them,
Yeah.
Like,
Uh-huh.
the mindset, though, was the fact that they stole from them, and so then they
Sure.
were just. So, yeah, if somebody took wood from me, I'd probably just say, all right, whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's where I think too, it's what are you doing this for? I think we talked about this before. If you're a business person, it's just the cost of doing business. You
Yeah.
offset that with some sales. But if it's a hobby, or if you're doing it, to help out the neighborhood, I can see where you get, your opinions and your ability to endure a theft like that is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. But I was these cameras. So here's a story for you. and this is when I worked for, this was a national chain. So we had cameras in all these stores, and I had a crew that worked for me. And I had a couple of these guys that did the majority of the camera work. And that's simply because, I mean, looking at stuff on camera is kind of fun. It's like hunting, it's like there's this thrill of the chase, but it's
Yeah.
tedious. It's tedious and it's boring and it's not for me. Okay. So this one guy, he called me up and he says, "Hey, I'm going to send you a picture. Take a look of it." So he sends me a picture, and it's a picture of me. And it was, yeah, it was me. And I look at the stamp, and it is a store that it was from yesterday. And it was a store that I was not in, nor was I in that state that this store was in. Okay.
What?
Yeah, it was me. I'm looking at me. That was a handsome guy, full head of hair, muscular, just tall and handsome. He had khaki pants on, black shoes, a blue by Cabela's jacket, a light blue button-down shirt, same color hair. It was like a side shot from like the ear. Couldn't see the face, and I could see a wedding ring. It was me. And I'm looking at this and I says, "Well, guess what, bud? I wasn't in Indiana yesterday,
Yeah.
Yeah. So he laughs and he sends me then the next shot of where the guy turns, and it was clearly not me.
Ah.
So here I am. It's me looking at me, and it fooled me, you know?
Oh.
And that's where that was a major life event for me, because I was once upon a time just hardcore on video stuff. We would
Yeah.
go after people in 2 seconds when it looked like we had something good. And that has always been in the back of my mind that, I mean, there's been people, charged for murder, based on evidence just like that,
Yeah.
showing that
Jeez.
I was in, how, oh, you weren't in Indiana? Then how do you explain this shot of you in
Indiana.
Indiana yesterday? Yeah. So that's,
Crazy.
yeah, it was a major life event for me. And that changed the way I approached video. I'm very skeptical of anything that I see, unless it's a slam dunk. But what you learn, especially with camera work, is that it's never, or very rarely, a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you
And
now
you never
like,
get and you never get the shot that you think you're going to get anyways.
so in other words, you now are, anytime you enter a store and see a camera, you stand facing it, wave, make sure they can see your face, and then go about your business.
Yeah. You hear people say, "Well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then you have nothing to worry about." And I was like, "Well, I disagree with that."
Yeah, because especially somebody else could do something wrong and they think it's you.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
so that's
crazy.
like, yeah, that even gets back to not just video evidence, but like, eyewitness testimony, that they saw you, walking into the convenience store at midnight,
Yeah.
you know?
Jeez.
Yeah. I've, that was a big deal for me. So I'm just saying, if you are going to take action, if you got camera goods on someone taking stuff out of your roadside stand, I'd be very careful about what you think you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't, you probably don't have what you think you have. Or if you're going to invest in a camera system, I think it's reasonable to think that you're not going to get what you think you're going to get. And that's just from like, theft. But I mean, they do serve a purpose because they are great to have.
Right. Yeah. And that's like I mentioned, my main purpose is just to be aware when there's activity. I'm not, I
Yeah.
never really have the thought of trying to use the video evidence ever to, you know, get take someone to court or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just for so
Now,
I'm aware.
what would you do if you get on your cameras and you see your wife reaching into the cash box and then driving on down the road?
Just say like, well, just another day. She's either reaching in my pockets or reaching in the cash box. Either way,
Yeah.
there goes my money.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was kind of cool though. You got the camera system. Now I got cameras all over my wood yard. But I don't, They are what they are.
Yeah.
I just know that the day that's, I hope, nothing ever happens, but the day something happens, the battery's dead. Or the
Yep.
serious, that's the way it is. The sunlight is shining off the semi at the neighbor's yard, and it's shining right into my camera, and I got no view.
Right at that right moment. Yeah. For 10 seconds, you got nothing.
Oh gosh, I told you that before. I think that grocery store chain I worked at, we had this theft going on in the aisle, and it was clearly the employees, because it was in the overstock boxes, bins that were under the shelves. So we put up this hidden camera, and here are all the kids hovering around the area where we're finding all the empty boxes, and we know they're getting ready to steal all this stuff. And the moment they reach down, this woman walks right into the screen and just completely shields everything that happened. So we just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Just the way it goes. Yeah.
I think the biggest supporters of that are people who hunt Bigfoot. Every time he always eludes the camera.
Yeah. And why is it that their camera was actually a tennis ball, or it was polished by a candy bar or something? They just that's what, like with UFOs, everyone's got like this 4K camera in their pocket, but all of these pictures look like they were
Yep.
Yeah, shot from the bottom of a lake or something.
It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Well, hopefully your cameras are better than that, Dan.
Yes, they are. Although I will say that the one thing I did not anticipate was spiders making webs in front of the camera, and then that web like moves, and then that sets off the motion detection. Oh my gosh. I've been having to brush down spider webs all the time.
Yeah. I have a camera in my barn, and one night I heard noises, so I just logged into my camera to look, and there was a spider like right on the lens, and it just, I had nightmares. It was like the giant Martian spiders from alien spiders from the planet Zoltar were coming to get me. Interesting, Dan. Right. High tech meets a low tech industry.
Yes.
Huh? I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dan, this was a fun discussion, but I think I need to get busy. I got to get wood made. The fall sale season is quickly coming upon us.
I hear you. I'm right there as well. So yeah, this was fun. So thanks everyone. Hope you enjoyed, and we appreciate you making the Woodhounds the #1 firewood podcast in the world.
Yeah. You left one thing out, Dan.
Strike up the band.
Yes. Strike up the band.
All right. Strike it up. Boom.
Okay. All right. Now that the band is struck, let's tell everyone out there to stay
safe
and put a camera on
your roadside stand
and have
a great day.